patrons, welcome back to another tutorial, and in this one we're going to be working with pastel pencils again, and we're going to be doing a hair study. So for this hair study I decided to pick very colourful sort of hairstyle. It is pink and purple, as you can see from the reference image, which is attached below, as well as the sketch outline for this. And so in this series I'm going to be working on doing facial features and things to do with portraits in pastel pencils and in watercolour. So I'm going to be doing a couple of pastel studies and a few watercolour studies for this particular series. So I have picked the colours that I'm going to be using for this, and they are all listed in the description, but I'll quickly run through with you guys what they are before we start. So we are going to be using, I'm going to be using the Stabilo Carbothello pastel pencils, but you can use any pastels that you have. And the first colour we're using is just a white pencil. This is just the number 100 of the Stabilo range. And we're also going to be using a black pencil, which is 750. So just use the white and black in whatever pastel range you have. We're also going to be using this sort of dark reddy pink, so a deep red pink, and this one is the 330, but just go for a nice deep pinky red. We're also going to be using this hot pink colour, which is the 335. So any sort of vibrant pink will do for that. And I'm also going to be using more of a pink purple colour, and this is the 365. So again, any sort of purpley pink will do. I'm then going to go for just a purple, a nice deep purple colour, which is the 385. Just a nice purple. And then I'm going to go for a few light blues. So I've got the 435. This is more like a light sky blue colour. And then I'm going for a slightly darker blue. This is more like a violety, bluey, on the edge of bluey purple. And this is the 430. And then we're going to have more indigo navy blue, which is the 390. And so those are all of the colours we are using for this study. We're only using a few, that's not too many. And I'm going to be using a blending stump to blend all my fingers. So I'm going to be working on this from the top to the bottom, and the reason that I'm going to be going from the top to the bottom is because I don't want to be working all around and end up smudging it. Because we're using white paper, I don't really want to be smudging the pastel all around the hair. I want to keep it quite neat and tidy. So I'm going to start by working on this little bun up here, and then once I've done that I will go down, and I will then start to go from the top and then down, but to this side, because obviously I'll be using this side of my hand. I use my right hand, and then as I do that I'll then do this area last, because obviously if I did it first and then I went to do this area, I'll end up smudging this part. So it's really important to think when you start a drawing like this where you're using pastels and they do smudge, what order and what way round are you going to do everything. I recommend going from the top to the bottom, and going from the side that you're not using your hand on all the way across to the side that your hand would rest on last. And so let's get started straight away on this bun up here. As you can see, I've lightly done the sketch outline, and I'm going to go in first with actually the purpley colours, some of the dark colours, to get in some of these shadows first. I am going to be working on it section at a time as well. And so I'm going to work on this section first, and I'm going to work on this side, because again, if I worked on this side first and then I had to do this area, I would end up smudging this part. So I'm starting at the top and working on this side and going across to the side that my hand will be resting on last. Okay, so I'm going to go in first with my navy blue colour and just start to use this in lines with the direction the hair is going in on these shadowed areas. As you can see in the reference, the area that I'm doing is quite dark, but it has got the lighter hairs on top of it. But because we're using pastels, we can add the light colours over the top later on. Another thing that you want to be aware of is you don't want to use too much of the pastel straight away, otherwise it's just going to all blend together. You want to try and really restrict the amount of pastel you're applying on the first layer. It's better to use less than use too much, otherwise you won't be able to get that definition. I am using the pastel matte paper for this. I do recommend using a proper pastel paper for your pastel drawings so that it really grips onto the paper. The paper can grip onto the pastel well. I'm now going to switch over to the purple colour and go over this a little bit. I'm just going to use this deep purple in the shadowed areas. Not everywhere, because you can see this pencil is quite dark and a lot of this area is quite light. So just for the shadowed parts at the moment. And remember, you don't have to get it exactly the same colour as the reference image. It's more important to look at the contrast and the details rather than getting the colours to match perfectly. I'm now going to go in with a little bit of black for these darkest areas. Again, don't worry about the little light hairs going over the top because we can add them later on. Just look at the general main areas, the main colours. I'm now going to add a bit of our mid blue, our 430. To these lighter areas. And this first layer is just to get everything blocked in to start with. I'm going to add a little bit more purple over the black. And I'm going to go in with the blending stump and just blend all of this out really softly, starting at one edge and then blending and feathering to the other side. I'm avoiding going back and forth because I don't want jagged zigzag lines. Especially if you're doing something like hair, it's best to go in lines rather than circular motions, so just go in little strokes. So just making sure everywhere is really thoroughly blended out. There we go. I'm going to go in with a second layer by adding a bit more purple on these shadowed areas. Just focusing on the shadows at the moment, not too much on all of these bright highlights. And I'm going to go in with some more of the mid blue. And the darker blue, the navy blue. Once again, just lightly blend all of this out. Blow off lightly any excess pastel. Okay, and so now I'm going to go in with the white pencil and start to add some of these highlighted strands of hair. Hype up the contrast a little bit. Start to add some detail, some of these lighter hairs that go over the main clumps. And then you can go in again with your dark pencils just to add some more shadows in between. Go in with the black and just add some of the really dark shadows. Okay, and I'm going to move on from that section for now. Actually, I'm just going to add a little bit of blue for some flyaway hairs. Okay, now let's move on to this section here, and again I'm going to go in first with the purple. Do these shadows. Again, because it's the same colour as this, I'm not going to add the purple everywhere, just on these shadowed areas. Once again, it's important to look at the direction of this. And with your first layer, you don't need to apply too much of the pencil. Going to add the shadow down here as well. Now I'm going to go in with that navy blue. Because it's not really bright purple, it's more of a bluey purple. Going to add a bit of that mid blue, carry that down to the rest of the hair. Add in some more of that purple. I'm going to add a bit of this pinky purple, just to a couple of areas that have a bit of a pink tinge, just to make it a bit more interesting. And then I'm going to go in with the blending stump and just blend this out. Okay, so now I'm going to go in with a second layer, add in some more of the purple, add a bit more definition. Going to get in some of the black here, very dark. And some of the black just on this darkest area here. It's not all the way, just in the corner bit. And there's a little gap of black there. I'm also going in with the navy blue. Focusing on each section individually. Add a bit more purple. You can always tone it down with the white later. Add some of the dark blue here. Again, I want to always be careful that I'm not accidentally smudging areas. Add some of the black. And I want to add some more of the blue. And go back in with the blending stump to blend it all out. So I've decided, like I said, to do each area to completion before I move on, just to prevent the smudging. But you can add the first layer to the whole area and then go through and add details if you want. But just be aware that you might smudge a bit more, so just be very careful. Once again, just blending over the whole thing just to secure everything in place. And then I'm going in with the white pencil to add all of these bright highlights. Now going back in for the shadows. There's a bit of pink over here, so I'm just adding a bit of the pinky purple. Adding some more of the black. Add some more of the darker purple. Just add some more detail. Gonna add some more blue. Add some little flyaway hairs. Now I'm going to move on to this section, and there's quite a bit of pink in this section, so I'm first going to lay down some of this pink tone in this shadowed area very lightly, always looking at the direction the hair's going in. I'm just going on top of that pink with some of this purple now. Now I'm going to add some of our mid-toned blue over the top of the purple. Going to add some of the black to these shadowed areas. Going to add some of the white in the middle now, because this area is quite highlighted, so I just want to preserve it a little bit. Add some of the lightest blue going across it. And I'm going to add a bit of the navy blue again onto this darkest, more shadowed area. Just because I want to deepen it up a bit, but I don't want to add more black. But I want it to be quite a bit darker, so I go for the darker blue. Give it more of a natural colour. And so now let's blend out this first layer with our blending stump. Just soften everything out. So I'm smudging some of the purple into this pink, so it's not just pink. Going over the whole thing with the blending stump. Now I'm going to go in once more, add a few details. Go back in with the purple. Add some of the blue over the top. And I'm just going to add a bit of white for these highlights. Just to lighten it up a bit more before I add the main highlights. And I'm going to darken up this shadowed area with the navy blue. And some of the black. I'm going to blend this out with the blending stump. Keep blowing away excess powder. So now it's got a bit more definition. I'm going to go in and add the details. So this area is quite white and highlighted. Now I'm going to go in and darken up some of these shadows. Just going to blend out this area a bit. Just lighten that area up and then go in and add some more white. Add a bit more blue as well. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next section. Again, starting with a bit of purple. Just a tiny bit because it's quite desaturated in this area. This area is quite dark, so I'm going to overlap quite a bit of purple to start with. Again, I'm just getting in the basic shape. I'm not worrying about all of the little light hairs going over the top. Overlapping some of the navy blue as well. and a bit of black. Going to add a bit of black onto the top bits here. Shading a little bit of purple. Going to shade some of the blue over, the mid blue. Going to shade some of the pinky purple. And some more of the purple. Now I'm going to go in and blend all of that out. There we go. Now again, I'm going to add some of the light blue. Just a little bit. I'm going to go in again with the black. Oh, I didn't blend this bit out. Just blend that area out. Once again, I'm going to add some more black. Going to blend out this second layer. Now I'm adding some purple. Just to add a bit more colour and overlap onto the black. Going to add a bit of navy down here so it doesn't look too purple. Just going to blend all of this out for the last time before we add the highlight details. bit of blow. And now I'm going to go in with the white and start to add all of these highlights. Add the little messy white hairs over the shadowed area. Some of them are thicker, some of them are very light, some of them are really bright but thin. So just add a variety so it doesn't look too uniformed. Just blend out the ends. Add a bit of blue. A bit of purple. Going over to this side, add a bit more white. Now that I've got the bun in, I can go and make any adjustments that I want to. Like darkening up this section at the top. Add a bit of black. Add some more of the black over here. Oops, I think I smudged it a bit. I'll have to erase that in a minute. So you've always got to be concentrating on where your hand is. Otherwise you'll accidentally smudge like that. It is so easy to smudge pastel. And in some more black. Just making any last adjustments before we move on. Okay guys, so now that we've done the bun, we're going to move on to this section down here, because like I said, I'm going to move downwards and from this side across to this side. And so the first part that I'm going to do is this section here, and I'm going to get all of the base layer down on this section. So kind of like all of these like knotted bits, I'm going to do all of those segments first, and then we'll do this section and then this section over here. And so we're going to start from the top and work our way down, and I'm going to do this little section first, which is pretty much purple. So I'm just going to go in and add a base layer of the purple. It's a bit darker over here, so we'll add a bit of black as well. Again, as this is the base layer, you don't have to worry too much about the direction. It's more about just blocking in the colours. Worry about direction a bit more in the second layer. It's also got a bit more of a pinky tinge to it, so I'm just going to overlap some of our pink purple colour. And so now I've got that bit in, I'm going to do this section here, which is purple at the top and bottom, but very highlighted in the middle. And it becomes quite black at the bottom. And right at the top. I'm going to add a bit of white. And just a little bit of purple over that. And then a bit more white. Okay, so moving on to this section. This section is very reddy. So we're going to go in first with the shadows using our deep pink red. Just focusing on this little segment. It was quite easy to actually pick the colours for this one, because obviously you've just got the pinks and purples and reds, and so you haven't got many complex like colours like you would if you're trying to pick colours for skin tones, so it's a bit easier. But also because the pencil set I'm using only has like 60 pencils in it anyway, there wasn't much variety. Like there was only one purple, so that's the purple I'm using. So don't worry too much about the pencils that you have and the colours that you have. Just use what you can. I'm going to add a bit of purple in the purple areas just under here, under that little section. And add in a bit of purple to the shadowed areas. Going to add a bit of our pinky purple. Add in a bit of black as well. deep red now. Okay, so moving downwards, it's a bit purple. So I'm just going to add the purple colour. Add the purple under here as well. Going to add some of our deeper red. And some of the black. Add in the black for some of these darker areas over here now. Again, just because I'm using it, I might as well get in some of these darker areas on this other little section. So now for this section, it goes to a quite bright pink. So I'm first going to add in some of our pinky purple. And then a bit of our hot pink in the centre. And then a bit of our deeper red on each end for the shadows. And some of the darker navy. Again for those shadows. Gonna add some more of the purple. Now this section has got a mix of purples, a bit more saturated tones and some pinks as well. So remember, this is only the first base layer, so don't worry too much about detail. Just get in the colours. So add a bit of our darker reds. Add some of the black. Add some white as well. I'm going to go through and add some black to some of these other areas as well. And a little bit of pink here. And this section has quite a bit of bright pink, so I'm just going to layer some of this bright pink down first. Add in some of the deep red. And over this darker shadow. And some of the pinky purple overlapping onto the purple. And so now I'm going to blend all of this out with the blending stump. So now that I've blended that out in the same way that I blended all of the burnt area out, I'm just going in with the black pencil and I'm just defining some of these areas a bit more by first going through and adding these shadows again. Just really get them dark enough, as dark as they are in the reference image. And it's at this stage with the second layer that I'm focusing a lot on the direction that the hair's going in. When I add the pencil this time, just really focusing on the direction. So I've gone through everywhere and added the black. Now I'm going to go in with the purple and add some of that. Going to add the pinky purple now. And I'm going to go in and start to add some of the white pencil. I'm not adding lots of detail yet with it. I'm just lightening up the areas that need to be a bit lighter. So now I'm going to go in with the blending stump and blend this out. Just very softly. Okay, and so now I'm going to go back in with the white and just start to brighten it up even more. Just going to add a bit of purple now to either end of this section. Now moving on to this section, it's very pink, so I'm going to go in first with our purpley pink, getting our base layer, avoiding the highlighted section. So now I'm going in with the black in this section. Really get in those shadows for that contrast. Looking for any other areas that have a bit of black in them. There's quite a lot of shadow being cast from the section of hair that's on top of this one. So you've got to make sure you get that in to make it look like the hair's layered and to add depth. Remember, all of the shadows are there for a reason. Gonna add some purple. I'm going to go in with some of the navy blue now to go on top of the black and to transition nicely into the mid-toned areas. Also going to go in with add dark red on this area where it's really pink, just adding the deep red for the shadows of these areas. And I'm going to add some of the bright pink more towards the middle of this section. Adding a bit more black. And a bit more purple. Now I'm going to add some of the purple for the section below this one. This section's more pink and then this one below it's a bit more purple and lavender coloured. So I'm going to add some black in the middle where it starts to go a bit grey, very lightly. Adding some of the red for this section, which is still part of the pink section. Adding some of the purpley pink as well. And then because this area is really bright, I'm just going in with my bright pink. Very lightly just shade this in. going to add some of the pinky purple. Now I'm going to go in with my blending stump and blend this all out. So now that I've blended it out, I'm going to go and add a second layer of detail. Firstly with the black. Gonna add some of the dark red. Now I'm going in with some of the bright pink again. Going in with the navy blue. Just blend this all out. Going to go in with the brush and tap off the excess. Okay, so now I want to go in with the white pencil and start to add the highlights. Just going to sharpen it first though, using my Derwent Super Point manual sharpener. Starting off lightly just to get in all of the details. Add in the really bright highlights as well. add in some of the shadows as well. Add in some more pink. And add some red. So now I'm going to go in with a bit of purple. Going to soften some of this out. Yeah, I'm starting to smudge a lot now. Just erase all of it. This eraser is actually really good for pastels. It came with the pastel set. Okay, let's start to move on to this section up here. Again, it's quite purpley at the start, so I'm just going to lay down a bit of purple. Very loose because it is quite light. The hair's light, so I'm just going to lightly add this, not too much pressure at all. Slightly pink on this side, so I'm just going to lay down a bit of the pinky purple and more towards the bottom. Now I'm going to start to add the darker red. Going to add some of the bright pink over the top of this. And a little bit of the black. Some of the black coming down from the top. More of this pinky purple. Add in some of the bright pink. Add in some of the bright pink on this section. I'm not worrying about too much about all of the lighter bits of hair that's going over the top. Gonna add the black for this little bit. There's just a tiny bit of black shadow here. Add in some black with this dark red. Layer a bit more dark red over the top. And some more bright pink. Now I'm going to go over the shadows with the red. Remember, this is just the first layer, so don't worry too much about making it perfect. Add some purple. And some of that pinky purple. Add the dark red in this section. So I'm just blending these areas out now. Going in with the paintbrush and getting rid of the excess. So I'm going to first go in with the white and really brighten up this section. Just adding some more purple down onto this one, this section. Adding some of the pinky purple. Gonna add some of the dark red as well. Add in a little bit of black. And some more bright pink. Just soften out some of the white highlights with my fingers, just smooth it down. And I'll just add in a bit more. Just add in some more white to these brightest areas. Just adding all of these messy white hairs. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to this section up here. It's very red at the base, so just add in some of this dark red. going to add the black quickly in this section. Now I'm going to add some of the purple. Add some of the pinky purple. Add in some of the red. Now I'm going to add some of our mid blue. Add some of the bright pink. Carrying on with the blue. And the purple. Okay, so I'm just going to blend this out. Okay, so now I'm just going to go in with the white pencil. Okay, I'm just going to go in and blend this with my finger now. Just going to go over it again. Now I'm going to go in and add the shadows with the black first. Just add in some of this pinky purple. Add a bit of the navy as well. Just going to blend this out softly with my fingers. Use a brush just to clean up the sides a bit. Just add in a few brighter white and just some of these loose flyaway bits of white. Again, just brush away the bits, and I actually just want to clean up around the hairstyle now. So the final thing that I want to do is I just want to go in with some coloured pencils and actually just start to add some definition and brighten up some of the highlighted areas and darken up any of the shadowed areas and just add some detail. And so the first pencil that I'm going to go in with is the white pencil, and I just want to use this to add in some highlights. coloured pencils do work nicely over the top of pastels. They're good for getting the little details as well that pastels are just too blunt to get. You can't get the fine little details that you can with coloured pencils. Not as easily anyway. So I'm really just focusing on each section. I'm really being careful where my wrist is so that I don't actually smudge any of the areas. Remember to add the flyaway bits of hair. I'm going to go in with the black as well. Add some of the black down here. Really take your time with this part. Gonna add some of the Cerulean brown now. Just like a dark red. And I'm also going to go in with the Crimson Aubergine. Adding in some lighter pink just to add a bit of detail in this area. And to add a bit of highlight, some lighter flyaway strands on these darker sections. Same with the lighter purple. This is the Ultramarine Violet. Just going to add some of this. Now I'm going to add some more of this Manganese Violet. This is a Polychromos pencil. Add in some more white. This area here is very bright. Just softening out each of these sections a bit. Now I'm going to add some highlights on this section of hair. I really want the hair to have good contrast. Add some more of that Caran d'Ache light lavender, light violet colour. And I'm going to add a bit of a darker purple. Add a bit of black as well. Gonna add some of that darker red. Adding some lighter pink over here. I want to add some white on here. adding some of the flyaway hairs around the outside now. Once again, just getting rid of any smudging. Okay, so I'm just going around the outside and just adding all of the little flyaway hairs, some light ones and some slightly darker ones. Going in all different sort of directions. Switch over to purple for the purple areas. And I'm also going in with the Induthrine blue. Just focusing my attention on highlighting now. Just add in the little white flyaway hairs now. Just hyping up the contrast with a bit of black. Adding a bit of purple again. Just going to get the eraser and lighten some of the flyaway hairs. Anyway guys, that is it for this quick little hair study. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next part where we'll be doing another facial feature. Bye everybody.